Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Karol Michalik, and I am trainer in Comarch Training Center. Today, I will show you how to enter data effectively in Microsoft Excel. Before we will start, I want to talk briefly about the topics I will cover during this training. At the beginning, I will explain how to enter, copy, and move data effectively in worksheet. In the next point, I will show you operations that we can perform on columns and rows. The next topic is very important because I will talk about the very useful flash fill tool. This tool can save us significant amount of time. Then I will explain how formulas works in Excel. I will present you type of formulas and possible usage of them. Next topic is also very important because it is very often used in plenty kinds of functions or formulas, and it is type of references. In the last topic, I will show you how to create formula based on data stored in different worksheets or even workbooks. Let's begin. The first part of the training, I will talk how to enter, copy, and move data effectively in Microsoft Excel. So let's begin. In my file, I have the empty table, which I want to fill. There are a few columns there: ID, company name, invoice number, date of invoice, payment date, and value of the invoice. In the first column ID, I want to number the records of the data. A record of the data is the first empty row below the column headers. So this is the place in which I will store the data in. So in the first cell, this will be the first record. So I will put here number 1. We have two methods to confirm this data. The first one is by using the enter key, which of course will put this data in this cell and select the cell below the previously selected cell. The second method is to confirm this data using the tabulator key. In this case, it will be very useful because using this key, I will confirm this data and it will additionally select me the cell on the right side. The tabulator key is the key above the caps lock. In the next part, I want to fill the company name. So for example, I will put here Comarch company name. And once more, I will confirm it using the tabulator key. The next column to fill is the invoice number. And here there might be few approaches how we will store the invoice number. For example, let's start with the shortcut of the invoice name, which will be the IN. And then let's put the slash. After the first slash, I will put here the year where the invoice was created, 2023. And after the next slash, I will put here the invoice number which will be, for example, 0123. And once more, I will accept this using the tabulator key. In the next column, date of invoice, I want to fill the date where the invoice was prepared. And what is very important regarding the dates is the fact that they depends on the regional format. There are plenty regional formats that we can use on our PC. In my case, of course, I'm using the English regional format. And if we want to check it, we can check it on our Windows, because on the bottom right side of your screen, you should see the clock and the calendar with the correct regional format on your PC. But the additional option is to put here automatically the data for the today's date. And for that, we have the shortcut Control and Semicolon, which will automatically insert the today's date. Once more, I will confirm it using the tabulator key. And what is important that the English format of the date starts with the month. In the next part, we see the day, and the last part is, of course, year. The next column to fill is the payment date. And let's assume that the payment took 5 days. So now, thanks to the regional format that I can see in the previous cell, I will fill fill it that the payment date took 5 days. The last part of my table is the value of the invoice. So let's assume that the value of this invoice was 4,531.12. And here we have to use the decimal separator for once more our regional format. In my case, it will be dot. And now, once more, I could use the tabulator key to confirm this data, but here I will use the enter key, which will select me the cell from the next record ID. Once more, I might continue my work. What is also very important in our data is the position of the value inside the cell, the alignment of it. As you can see, the numbers will be aligned to the right side of the cell. Number 1, the value, and also the date of invoice or payment date. The dates must be treated as numbers in Excel. The text values, such as company name or invoice number, will be aligned to the left side of the cell. So this is how we can quickly check if the value is stored in Excel and treated as a number value or the text value. Let's assume that I want to edit a little bit this invoice number, and then the last part of it should be 0223. If we want to edit some value in the cell, we can double click on this cell and then manually adjust it. The next possibility here is to use the function key F2. The F2 key will also automatically open this value for me, and thanks to that I can edit it accordingly to my needs. I will confirm it, and the last thing to adjust here is the column white C. As you can see, the whole invoice number is not shown here due to the fact that the column white is too low. How we can adjust the column white here? We have once more two methods. We can do it manually by dragging the right edge of the column that we want to adjust, in this case the C column, and holding the left mouse click, I can adjust this column white. The next method, in my opinion, more useful, is to double click on the right edge of the column. Thanks to that, the column white will be automatically adjusted to the value inside this cell. Once more, I will show you, double click, and as you can see, it is automatically adjusted. In the next part, I want to talk how to copy data effectively. As you can see, in the next worksheet, I have the data for the whole year, and few of the months are missing: February, July, August, and December. On the right side, I have the data that I want to put in my total report. And we'll start with the month February, because this is the first month that is missing from our total report. I will start, and always we should start copying the data with the selection of the data that we want to copy. So I will start with selecting everything regarding the February month. And here we have few methods to copy the data. The first one is by right-clicking on the table. I can use here option copy. The second method is to use the ribbon on the Home tab in the Clipboard section. We have this option to copy. But in my opinion, the best idea to copy the data is by using the shortcut Ctrl+C. After copying the data, the border around the copied data will appear, and after it, of course, we should select the cell in which we want to paste the data. We will start with the first row of the O cell, which means that after selecting it, I will use the shortcut for pasting. This is, of course, once more one of few methods to paste this data. The first one is by using the right click and use option paste. The second one is by using ribbon, and in the clipboard section we have this bigger button paste. But in my opinion, the best idea here and the fastest way is by using the shortcut Ctrl V. The next 2 months, January and July and August, is the month that stands next to each other, which means that we can select the whole table and paste it there. In case that our data will be too big to effectively select it manually using mouse, we can use shortcut for the selection. This shortcut is the Ctrl Shift and arrow that will define the direction of our selection. In our case, it will be the bottom arrow because we want to select everything from the first to the last row. In this case, I want to also adjust my selection to include the August month. And in this case, if we want to include this month, we can also use the shortcut Shift and arrow, which will of course define the direction of our selection. And in this case, Shift and right arrow will select me additionally one more column. So using this Shift arrow shortcut, we can adjust our selection. Clicking the right key will expand it by one column. The left key will decrease the selection by one column, and similarly to the bottom and top key. It will expand row by row, or it will decrease the selection row by row. And after selecting the whole table for the July and August month, I can copy it using the Ctrl C, and I can paste it using Ctrl V shortcut. The last month is the December month, and similarly as a previous selection, I will start with selecting everything for the month December, then I will copy it using the Ctrl C, and then I will paste it using Ctrl V. In the next part, I will show you how to move data effectively in Excel. So let's open the next worksheet, moving data, and here we have the report for the whole year, which is divided by the 4 quarters. Our exercise here is to prepare 4 different tables for each quarter. So let's start with the quarter 2, because the first one is already prepared here. I will start with copying the information regarding the years using the Ctrl C, and below I will paste it using Ctrl V. In the next part, I want to cut the whole quarter 2 and paste it here. For the cut option, we have also a few methods to perform this operation. The first one is of course by right-clicking and using this scissors icon with the option cut. The next option is to use this option here on the ribbon in the clipboard section, which is also called cut. For the cut option, we have also the shortcut for it, and in my opinion, it's easy to remember because the letter that we'll be using is similar to the icon scissors, which is the Ctrl and X shortcut. So I will select the quarter 2, I will cut it using Ctrl X, and below I will paste it here. Now I have 2 different tables for the quarter 1 and quarter 2. The next one will be here. So what I will do is I will copy those years and paste it here, and also additionally I will paste below there, because here I want to prepare the 4th report for the last 4th quarter. So once more I will select the data regarding the 4th quarter. I will cut it and paste it below using the shortcut Ctrl and X and Ctrl V. Additionally, if we want to move data around, we can do it based on our selection, because what I can do is I can select the whole table which I want to move, and dragging my cursor on the edge of the selection, I will see the icon with the 4 arrows. If I see it, I can hold the left mouse key, and thanks to that I can move this data around. So this is another option, another method for moving the data. In the next topic, I want to talk what operations you can perform on rows and columns in Microsoft Excel. And additionally, I will show you the option hide and what we should know about it. So let's begin. In my file, I have the report regarding some sales representatives and their sales for the first 2 quarters. So we have month January, February, March, April, May, and June. The last column is, of course, the summing column, in which we see the total value for the whole 6 months. Let's assume that we want to add additional column before the column sum due to the fact that we want to insert another data for the next 2 quarters. The first method here is to select the column before which we want to add additional empty column, and by right-clicking on this column, use option Insert. The whole empty column will be added in our data, as you can see here. In case that I want to perform this operation many times, because I need to add 6 empty columns, what I can do is I can select 6 empty columns, as you can see right here, and I can right-click on this selection using option Insert. Thanks to that, 6 empty columns will be added to my report. I just want to show you additional method of inserting empty columns or empty rows. For that, I want to undo this operation regarding the insert cells option. The operation for the undo operation you can find here on the top left side of your program. Also, what is quite important, we can use the shortcut for it, which is the Ctrl-Z shortcut. Quite useful because many times, unfortunately, we will perform some kind of mistakes and errors. I will use Ctrl-Z, and as you can see, I undid this operation. Now what I want to show you is how to add the empty columns or rows using the shortcut. We can select the whole column I, and now I can use the shortcut Ctrl+. What is very important, I'm using the plus sign from the numbering keyboard. So this keyboard on the right side. I know that sometimes we are working on the laptops or even notebooks, and sometimes this numbering keyboard is not present in our PC. And it's quite difficult to use the shortcut Ctrl+ without plus sign. But it is not impossible to do, because what we can do is we can use Ctrl, Shift and equal sign. Of course, Shift and equal sign will transfer to the plus sign, which means that we will still use the Ctrl and plus icon. And that's how we can add many empty columns or empty rows. Regarding the rows, of course, if we want to add additional empty rows below the South department, because we know that we will add few empty records for the South departments, what I will do is once more I will select the North department, because this is the row above which I want to add empty row, and using the Ctrl+ icon, as you can see, I added few empty rows. In the next part, I want to show you the difference between the option Insert Cells and Insert Row and Columns. In the next worksheet, Insert Cells, I have few reports prepared. The first one is on the left side, the second one is on the right side. The problem here with the option Insert Row or Insert Columns will be the fact that inserting empty rows will also affect the table on the right side. So if we want to avoid this mistake, we should use option Insert Cells. The Insert Cells option is based on our selection. So we will select the whole record above which we want to add additional empty cells. I will right click on this selection, and now using option Insert, we will see the small window in which we can select what we want to add. We have 4 options. The entire row and entire column is already defined in the previous worksheet, so we can indeed insert the entire row or entire column if we wish. But here we have 2 options: Shift Cells Right or Shift Cells Down. The first option, shift cells right, is commonly used for adding empty columns in the report because every data will be shifted to the right side. We want to shift the cells down because we want to insert empty row. So this is the option if we want to add empty row. So I will use this option, shift cells down, and as you can see, the empty record will be inserted only to the report on the left side of our worksheet. Additionally, if we want to add few empty rows, let's assume that will be 3 empty rows, we can also perform this operation based on our selection. So I will select 3 records above which I want to add empty records. I will use option insert and I will perform operation based on option shift cells right. And as you can see, 3 empty records will be added to my table on the left side. Unfortunately for us, the third report was below our data. And it's impossible to insert cells without affecting one of the report below or on the right side. So in this case, we want to adjust this report to start with the 32nd row. We can do it using the cut option. So I will start with selecting the data that is incorrectly adjusted here, starting with the south cell, and using the Control Shift and right arrow bottom arrow shortcut, I will select this whole table to the right and to the bottom. Control Shift and right arrow, Control Shift and bottom arrow will select me the whole table. And now what I will do is I will use option cut, Control X shortcut for it, and I will define the place in which I want to paste this data. So this will be the E32, and I will paste it. Thanks to that, my report is now in correct place. Here, of course, regarding this report, we can also add additional empty records, which will be now in particular column. Let's once more say based on our selection, using the option insert, but now I don't want to shift the cells to the down, I want to shift those cells to the right. As you can see, empty records for this report will be prepared. In the last part of this topic, I want to talk about the height option. So I will open the last worksheet, which is called height. This is the same report from the first worksheet. And here, let's assume that my exercise is to hide the south department. Once more, we can perform this operation based on our selection. So I will select the rows with the south department from the second one to the 13th one. And I will use right-click option hide, as you can see here. After performing this operation, the whole department south will be hidden. What is also very important that we can define if the cells are hidden or not, thanks to the order of the rows. As you can see, the first row is with number 1, but the second one is number 14. So thanks to that, we know that few of the rows are hidden in this report. The same thing we can perform on the columns. For example, I want to hide the whole first quarter, so I will select 3 columns with the January, February and March data. And now by right-clicking on those columns, I will use option hide. And as you can see, now I see only the data for the North and West department and for the April, May and June month. What is also worth mentioning is the fact that if the data is hidden, and now I want to perform copying option on this data, unfortunately the whole data will be copied. Look at this. I will copy this whole table. So of course, after selecting the whole table, I will use shortcut Ctrl+C. And now I will create new worksheet in which I will paste this whole table. Of course, we see some errors here regarding the column weights. We will fix it in a moment. But what is very important is the fact that we see the data for the South department and for the first quarter. How to avoid this error? How to avoid this problem? If we want to copy only the visible cells, what we can do is we can, before copying the data, select particular option to select only visible cells. How to perform this operation? We will start with selection of the whole table, and after it I will use option which we can find in the Home tab in the editing section, which is called Find and Select. This is one of the last options of this particular Home tab. After opening the list of the possible option, we should use the fourth one, Go to Special. And after opening the new window, we will use option which is called Visible Cells Only. So before copying the data, I will only select the cells that are visible. So the hidden rows or columns will not be taken into the copied area. So I will use this option, I will click OK, and as you can see, maybe it's not that clearly visible, but it will be after the copying, only the visible cells are selected. It will be visible after copying because we see that those borders only restrict to the visible data. So now opening the new worksheet and pasting this data, we'll only paste the North and West department for the April, May and June, so for the second quarter. Due to the fact that the path to this option is quite long, we can also use the shortcut here. Let me present this to you. So after selecting the whole table, we can use the shortcut Alt and Semicon. Alt and Semicon will automatically select only visible cells, and after copying it, we should also see only visible data copied. The last thing that I want to mention here is the fact that, of course, the column weights are not exactly correct because we don't see most of the data. If this is the case and you want to adjust the column weights automatically for every column from this table, what you can do is you can select every column that have the data inside and double click on any border in this selection. This will automatically adjust the column weights for the whole selected area. In the next topic, I want to show you the flash fill tool. The flash fill tool is very useful if we want to receive something from the text. It's commonly used for the names and surnames, but sometimes it might be useful in plenty kinds of situations dealing with the texts. So let's begin. In my file, I have the data for the first report with the name and surnames of my employees. The next two columns is the columns that I want to fill using the flash fill option. I want to receive the name in the B column and the surname in the C column. The flash fill tool is the tool that will do it for me automatically based on the pattern that I will manually define. Which means that firstly, what I have to do is I have to perform and prepare it for the first record manually. So I will prepare the name for the first record, which is the name Alex. And now after it, I want to use the flash fill option to create the next few names. The flash fill option, you can find it in the Data tab, in the Data Tools section. This is the option that we can see here. The flash fill option additionally have a possibility to use using the shortcut, which is the Ctrl and E shortcut, which I will quite commonly use because I think it's a lot faster method to use this option and many other ones. So after preparing the first record manually, name Alex, I will select this cell and using the Ctrl and E shortcut, I will prepare the table of the names of my employees automatically. So that's how we can do it in very fast way. Basically the same thing I will perform for the surname. So the first step is to prepare for the first record this surname manually. So I will put here surname Yannick, and then after using the Ctrl and E shortcut, as you can see, I will receive the table for the rest of the employees. In the next exercise, I want to do the opposite, do it in the opposite way, which means that I want to receive the name and surname based on the column H and I, which is the name and surname column. Once more, I have to start with preparing and creating the first name and surname manually, which means that I will put here Alex Yannick name and surname, and after confirming it, I will use Ctrl-E shortcut to receive the table with the name and surname. We can, of course, define different patterns. It's not always must be the name and surname. It can be a surname and name, which I will now do. So I will start with the surname Yannick, and after it I will put here manually name Alex. Always pay attention to the first record if you do it correctly. For example, if I will put double X here to the name Alex, look at this. I will unfortunately not receive the correct name and surname. It will be, let's say, repeated, as you can see here. So be careful. Of course, I can adjust it now for the first record and everything will be automatically fixed. The last thing, of course, to adjust is the column weights for the column J and K. So I will select them and double click on the edge between them. And thanks to that, the column weights will be automatically adjusted. In the next table, I want to prepare the table from which I will receive the email address of the particular employee. So let's assume that the email address should start with the name, then we should see the symbol dot. After it, we should see the surname Yannick, then symbol at company.com. So how to do it? Once more, we have to prepare it manually for the first email address. So alex.yannick@company.com. I will accept it and I will receive the first email address. It might be used for the sending the email address for the whole table, because it is possible to perform this operation for many records at the same time. So it's very useful. But of course, we need the next email addresses, which means that I will use the flash fill option to perform this operation. And as you can see, now I have the email addresses for my whole table. I will adjust the column white just to be sure that everything is as it should be. In the next table, we have the situation in which we receive the data which is unfortunately incorrect, and from this data, which have different separators, different values before and after the elements, we want to receive the name and surname. This name and surname is always in the middle of those symbols. So thanks to the information that we already have, we have to do it manually. So Alex Yannick will be prepared manually for the first record, and using the Ctrl-E shortcut, I will receive it for the next few ones. Unfortunately, sometimes the error occurred. For example, for Zofia Varda, I will receive only the number. In those type of situation, what we should do is we should define much more patterns to define our data precisely, which means that for this number, I will replace with the name and surname of this person. So I will put it manually, Zofia Varda, and look at this. This pattern will be also adjusted to the rest of the table. So now I will receive the name and surname in the correct form. Of course, sometimes it might be the case that you have to define much more patterns to define the name and surname or other things effectively using the flash fill option. So always it's a great idea to check if everything is as it should be. In the last part, similar situation. We have two possible options, company name and code. Sometimes it will start with the code, then we'll see the company name. Sometimes it will start with the company name, then we see the code. So once more, I will start putting the first code manually using the Control E. Sometimes I will do it and I will receive it incorrectly. So it means that I have to adjust it to the second pattern that starts with the company name. So I will delete this company name Lantex. I will leave only the code. And after confirming it using enter, as you can see, now I only received the codes from this company name and code column. The same thing should be performed for the company name. So I will put here first company name Talex. I will use the Control E, so the flash fill option, to receive other company names. And I see that in the second record, once more, I see some kind of error because I see company name with the code. What I will do is I will delete the company code. And thanks to that, the company name will be received for the whole table. In the next topic, I want to show you how the formulas in Excel works. Additionally, I will show you the type of possible formulas and also possible usage of them. So let's begin. In my Excel file, I've prepared the area for the formula. What is very important is the fact that if you want to use any kind of formula or function, you have to always start with the equal sign. This equal sign shows Excel that now I will perform some kind of calculation. So let's begin with that. After putting the equal sign, I can define the number using the keyboard, so for example, number 8, and after it, I can define the operator for the calculation. For example, I can add something to the 8 number. Of course, once more, I can define it from the keyboard, but also I can refer to the cell with the value. In this case, this is the P2 cell with the value 37, which means that 8 plus 37 will be done and performed. Of course, we have much more options regarding the calculation. We can add the values, subtract from each other, multiply them or divide. For example, for the multiply option, I will use the star sign and I will multiply it by the P7 cell. Of course, here what is very important is the order of the calculation, which is of course the same as in mathematics. So in this case, the multiplication will be performed firstly. After it, the 8 will be added to this value. I want to do it in different ways. So firstly, I want to perform the operation for adding those two elements together, and after it I want to multiply them, which means that I have to put this operation add in brackets. This will be prioritized, and after it will be multiplied by P7. After confirming it, I should receive the value from my calculation. There are much more options regarding the calculations that we can perform. And here below, I've prepared a table with every possible operator that we can use. There are operators such as add, subtract, multiply, divide, which I think should be already know. We have also the operator for the exponential, which means that we can multiply the same value few times by each other, and also the concatenation operator, which is the ampersand. Much more likely you should know the name AND. This will be also used for example, creating some kind of text values, which can be added from few cells. Additionally, we have also the logical comparisons. For example, we can check if something is equal, greater than, less than, and also, for example, not equal to. The logical comparison will always receive me the true or false statement, which is also very important because sometimes the true and false statement might be used in plenty kinds of functions, such as if function. In the next example, I will show you possible usage of the operations of the formulas and how we can perform those kind of calculations. So let me open the next worksheets, and here we have two calculations that we want to perform. We want to calculate the area of the circle and area of the triangle. So let's begin with the area of the circle. The pattern here is the P times R squared. So let's prepare this formula here. P times R squared, which means that we want to expand it to the number 2. And after accepting it, we will receive the area of this circle. In the next example, I want to calculate the area of the triangle, which means that we want to multiply the A by height of this triangle and then divide it by 2. So once more, A multiplied by H divided by 2. And I will receive the area of the triangle. If you want to compare those two areas, for example, we can check if those areas are the same, we can perform this operation in which I will refer to the area of the circle and I will compare it to the area of the triangle. As we can see, they are not the same, so result from this calculation will be false. If I want to check, for example, if the area of the circle is greater than area of the triangle, as you can see it is, we will receive the true statement. In the next part of these formulas, I want to show you a few other usage of those formulas. So in the first exercise, we have to calculate those 4 columns. The first one is how many days they are between the sale and delivery. We already know that the dates are the numbers. As you can see, the alignment is to the right side. And if we want to calculate the days between those two dates, what we can do is we can subtract from the higher date, so this date of delivery, we can subtract the date of sale. And thanks to that, we'll receive the information regarding how many days it took to deliver the product. Of course, I want to avoid any manual work here, so I don't want to perform this operation in the next few records manually. Thanks to the Excel is of course the spreadsheet, which means that we can use the loop for performing this operation. In the bottom left side of the selected cell with the formula, we should see this small green square, and if I will put my cursor on it, it should change the icon to this black plus. And now what I can do is, holding the left mouse click, I can drag this formula to the bottom to perform this operation for every other record. And as you can see, the information regarding the days that took for the delivery will be received. In the next column, we want to calculate the total price. It will be the calculation of the quantity and price per unit, which that should be multiplied by each other. So I will prepare this operation, quantity multiplied by the price per unit. I will confirm it using the Enter key, and I will receive the first total price. Of course, the second method of dragging this formula to the bottom is not doing it manually. We always try to avoid any manual work, and look at this. I can double click on this green plus on the bottom right side of the cell, and thanks to that, this table and this formula will be performed automatically for the rest of the records. In the next column, I want to check if the total price is greater than 650. Of course, the answer that I want to receive will be in the form of true or false statement. So let's check it. I will check the first price, and I will check if this is greater than 650. After confirming it, I will receive the answer true, because the first total price is greater than 650, but the second one, for example, is not. That's why I received the false statement. In the J column, I want to prepare the formula that will be based on the text value. We want to check if the region of these companies is different than North region. The very important part here is if we want to perform any kind of operation based on the text, always the text must be put in the quotation marks. In any kind of formula, any kind of function, we have to remember about that. Otherwise, we will receive the error in Excel regarding this value. So what we should do is we should refer to the first region and we should check if it is not equal to the North. The not equal sign is less than, greater than next to each other. And now the North is, of course, the text value, which means I have to open the quotation mark, type here value North and close it. After confirming it once more, thanks to the comparison, I will of course receive the answer true or false. In case of the North region, as you can see, I receive value false. In the next exercise, I want to calculate the earnings, bonuses, taxes, and the gross salary of my employees. Let's start with the earnings. Of course, it will be the working days multiplied by day rate. C2 multiplied by D2. After confirming it, I will calculate the earnings of my employees. In the next column, I want to calculate the bonus 10%. Once more, it should be in currency format, which means that I should multiply the earnings by 10%. And here we have two approaches. We can put here 10 and percentage symbol, which means of course 10%. But also what is possible is that we can define this percentage value as a decimal number, which means that I can put here 0.1, because 10% is of course 1/10 of the total value of the whole. So after multiplying it, I will accept this, double click on the right bottom square, and as you can see, the loop will be automatically performed. In the last part, we want to calculate the tax, 17%. Once more, I will multiply the earnings by 0.17. And thanks to that, I will receive the tax value. The last element to calculate is the gross salary. We want to include bonus and tax, which means that we will start with the earnings. To the earnings, I will add the bonus, and from that, I will subtract the tax, because of course, tax will decrease the gross salary. After confirming, I will receive the information regarding the gross salary that includes bonuses and taxes. In the last part, I want to show you the formulas that can be performed and done on the texts. So I will open the last worksheet, concatenate, and here we have the situation in which we want to receive the name and surname. Of course, from the previous topic, we know that we can use here the option flash fill, but in this case, I want to perform this operation using the formula. So here, I will start with the equal sign, and I will refer to the first name. Then, I want to combine this name with the surname. So I will use this ampersand sign, which is the combination Shift-7, and I will connect to this name the surname of the first person. I will accept this, and unfortunately my name and surname is not separated by space, which is of course incorrect in this case. What we should also add is the text value space between the name and surname. To perform this operation, we should define and know that the space is of course text value, which means that this text value must be put in quotation marks. So I will open quotation mark, put here space, and close the quotation marks. And after it, we have to once more use the ampersand sign, because this ampersand sign is used to join text strings, but sometimes, and quite commonly, we will use it to combine the different types of the data. And here we have the object, which is the A2 cell, combined with the texts. And now we want to combine the text with the object B2. Thanks to that, I should receive the name and surname for the first person. If I want to receive for the next few records, I can double click to drag this formula to the bottom. The last column to calculate is the name, comma, surname, and position in this form. So I will start with the name, the A2 cell. Then I want to receive the comma sign. So in quotation mark, I will put here comma and space. Then I will combine it with the surname. After it, I want to receive this text value and, before which I will put space, and will put space after it also. And in the last part, I want to combine it with the position. The Paweł Janik's position is CEO. After confirming it, I will receive that this is the Paweł Janik and CEO. I will adjust the column weights and we are done with this last column. In the next topic, we will talk about the type of references that we can use in Microsoft Excel. This is a very important topic because the type of references will be used in plenty kind of formulas and functions. So let's begin. In our data, we have the first calculation that we want to perform. We want to calculate the total price. We are given the quantity and price per unit. We will use the relative type of reference due to the fact that our calculation should follow our formula. So let's multiply the quantity by price per unit and let's drag it to the bottom using this double click solution. And as you can see, always the values that will be taken to the consideration is the values from the left side for the first, second, and any other record. Which means that due to our movement, to the movement of the formula, the movement of reference is also performed. What is also quite important but not always used is the fact that in the relative reference, the same pattern will be visible by dragging this formula to the right side. Of course, this value and this calculation is now incorrect. But of course, the price per unit was multiplied by the total price. Due to the fact that always those two cells on the left side from the place of the formula will be taken to the calculation. The relative cell reference is the reference that we will use quite commonly if we want to fill the area, which is the one-dimensional area, which means that we have only one column or row to fill with particular formula. The next situation, the next reference that we'll use is the absolute cell reference. In the case that once more we have one-dimensional area to fill, we should also sometimes use the absolute cell reference. Our situation and exercise is to calculate the tax value and then the gross price. The tax is given and it is 23%. If I will try to calculate using the relative cell reference, so I will multiply the net price by the tax 23%, I will receive the correct answer for the first product. But the problem is that I will not receive it for the next few elements. Why? The reason is pretty simple. Relative cell reference will follow my formula, so moving it downwards will also change the reference by one cell below. And it is regarding the net price, which is correct, but it is also regarding the tax value, which is unfortunately incorrect. So how to deal with this problem? We should define that in every calculation from the C column, the value from the E2 cell should be taken. which means that now I want to change the type of reference from the relative to the absolute cell reference. Of course, I could put here manually the dollar signs, because as you can see, the absolute cell reference is the reference with the dollar sign before the column and before the row number. But better and best idea here is to use the function key F4. The F4 key, based of course on our selection, will change the type of reference for us, from the relative cell reference to the absolute one, and from the absolute to the mixed cell reference, which I will show you in the next part of our exercise. So in this case, I've changed the cell reference E2 to the $E $2, and thanks to that, after confirming this formula and dragging it to the bottom, I will receive the tax value for the all of my products. As you can see, the relative cell reference changed, the absolute will be still the same. So the dollar sign means that this position, this column E and the second row will never change. The last part is of course to calculate the gross price. Here and the exercise and calculation will be pretty simple: net price plus tax value. And after confirming, I can drag it to the bottom, and thanks to that I will receive the gross price. The last type of reference is the mixed cell reference. And there are two mixed cell references. The references with the column blocked, which means that the dollar sign will be before the A column, and the mixed cell reference with the row number blocked, which means that the dollar sign will be before the row number. Here, the prices given are in Polish currency, and our exercise is to calculate it in the dollars and other currencies, which means that we want to divide this value per the exchange rate. In this case, our area to fill the formula is not one-dimensional. It's two dimensions because we have the table to fill. And in those type of situations, we should use mixed cell references. The mixed cell references are the most difficult type of references because they will need some imaginations sometime. That's why what I will show is how to perform this operation even if we don't have quite good imagination. The solution here is we should start with the basic formula, which will be the price in Polish zloty divided by the exchange rate. Of course, in this type of situation, I will receive the price, in this case in dollars, so I will change the format from the currency to number, because I don't want to define other currencies here. But the problem is with the other elements. Look at this. If I will drag it to the right, drag it to the bottom, as you can see, I will receive some different and not correct values here. So what is the solution and why this problem occurs? So once more, maybe I will show you that, for example, here, as you can see, this value was divided by this value, which is incorrect due to the fact that we are using the relative cell reference. Always the cell on the left side and above will be taken into calculation. So how we can deal with this problem? And here, if you have some kind of imagination, you can imagine in which position each particular reference should move. But if you don't, there is a very easy method to receive this information. What I can do is I can, let's say, imagine that those prices in Polish zloty that the formula should move on are those prices. And now what we are looking for is the common part of all of those cells. The common part of all of those cells will be the B column, which means that this B column should always be the same. And receiving this information back that the B column should always be the same, what we should now do is we should select our reference B3 and change the type of reference to block only the column number. So the B column should be blocked here. We will achieve this goal by blocking it in this order, $B3. Which means that our reference will always stay in the B column. The row number will change because we don't see any dollar before it. And as you can see, the product prices in Polish currency is of course different. The column B will always be the same. Basically, the same thing should be performed for the C2 cell. As you can see, all of those elements that this formula should move on are in the same row number now. So everything is in the second row. Which means that now we should block this second row number. So the type of reference that I should use is the $2. And thanks to that, I will receive the calculation that will calculate me the values in different currencies. So as you can see right now, for example, the column number for the red reference changed. The row number for the blue reference also changed. And only row number and only column number for those two references. Okay, so due to the fact that the mixed cell reference are the toughest one, let's once more create the and fill the last exercise that I've prepared for you. Our exercise here is to prepare the multiplication table. So we have the column headers and row headers from 1 to 10. And our exercise is to multiply this value by this for the first calculation. And for example, here, this value by this. So the result should be 20. How to perform it? I will start with the basic calculation, which is the C3 multiplied by B4. And now I will confirm this calculation. It's always great idea to confirm your calculation on some milestones. In this case, the calculation is already prepared, so I will confirm it. If I will not do it, sometimes creating more complicated formulas, we couldn't come back to the formula from the beginning. So it's a great idea to always confirm it performing few steps. And now the exercise and the question is how this C3 cell should move around the table. Let's try to select the area on which this blue reference should move. So I will select it. Those will be the values that should be taken by this blue reference. What is the common part of all of those elements? The common part is, of course, the row number. So the third row number is the row in which every value from this selected area are in. And now, if we know that this is the constant part of this formula, what we should do is we should block only this element. So $3 is the correct reference. In the B4 reference, we should do basically the same thing. So once more, I will try to imagine and highlight the elements on which this formula should move on. Those will be the values that this formula should focus on. And the common part here is the fact that all of those elements belongs to the B column. Which means that now my exercise is to only block the column B. So I will select this element and using the F4 key, once more, I will block only the B column. I will confirm it and drag it to the right, drag it to the bottom, and the multiplication table is already performed. The one problem that I see here is the fact that the formats of my cells are now incorrect, especially regarding the border around this table. Now I have this thick line here and the smaller line here. So how to avoid this error? This error might always occur if you are dragging your formula, because also with the formula, the format is copied and pasted. So I will come back to steps, and there are two methods to perform this operation. The first one is the fact that we can drag this formula by right click. So usually we are dragging formula using the left mouse click, but now I will do it using the right mouse click. And here, after releasing it, I will receive the additional options, and the option that I will use is the option Fill Without Formatting, in this case and in this case. And now, as you can see, the format of this table is as it should be. The second possible method is the method for filling the whole table using the shortcuts. We can achieve this goal by selecting the area which we want to fill with the formula from the first selected cell. So I will select the area in which I want to see the formula in, starting of course with the first cell with the formula that I want to fill. And now the next step is to open this formula. So basically I want to see once more those blue and red colors of those references. The best idea here is to use the function key F2 to open this cell. And now, if the area is selected and if the formula is already highlighted, I can use the shortcut Ctrl Enter. And this shortcut will fill this table for me. In the next topic, I want to talk about the references between the worksheets and workbook. So let's begin. In our data, we have the file for the expenses for Q1. We have 3 different worksheets, January, February, and March. And in the last worksheet, we have the summary for the whole Q1. So let's see the data. We have few departments here and the expenses. In the February month, we have additionally the investments that was performed in those departments. In the March, once more, we see only expenses. In our summary, we will start with calculation of total expenses from the Krakow. So let's begin. Of course, I should start with the equal sign, because I want to use formula. After putting here the equal sign, I want to refer to the data regarding the Krakow from the first month of the first quarter. So I will open the worksheet January, and here, as you can see in the formula bar, this reference will be created. So the name of the worksheet January, exclamation mark, and after it we should see the reference to the cell from this worksheet. So I will refer to the cell B2, which is the first cell for the Krakow expenses. After referring to the first expenses for the Krakow, I will perform the operation of adding additional expenses from the next February month. So let's open the next worksheet, February, and now let's refer to the expenses for the Krakow for the next month. So the B2 cell in the February worksheet. As you can see once more, we see the name of the worksheet February, exclamation mark, and B2 cell. Plus investments from the February worksheet. Once more, Excel shows us from which worksheet the value should be taken from. The last value to add here is the value from the March month. So once more, I will add expenses for Krakow department. And here, very important thing is we shouldn't come back to the summary Q1 worksheet. The reason is pretty simple. Look at our formula on the last part of it. We have March exclamation mark B2. If now I will open summary Q1, it will change to summary Q1, which means different value will be taken into our calculation. Of course, we can fix this error by coming back to the March worksheet, but now the table is taken to the calculation. So once more, I will adjust it using the B2 cell. So after defining the whole formula correctly, we should confirm it using the Enter or Tabulator key. And the total expenses for Krakow is around $2 million. In the next exercise, I want to calculate the difference between Berlin and Paris. From the expenses from department in Berlin, I want to subtract expenses from the Paris department. So let's begin. Let's start with calculation of the Berlin expenses. So I will add January value from the Berlin. I will open the February worksheet and I will add expenses to the investments, of course, for the Berlin department. And the last part is to add here the Berlin value from the month March. Now I want to subtract values from the Paris department. So I will put here the subtract sign minus. And once more, I will go to the January and I will select the first expenses for the Paris department. After it, I will subtract the rest. So the February expenses for Paris, the February investments from Paris, and the March expenses also for the Paris department. Everything, as you can see, should be subtracted. And after confirming, I will receive the information that the difference between the Berlin and Paris department is $115,000. The next part is the calculation of the percentage of grand total of ROM. I've already calculated the summary of total cost for Q1 due to the fact that we didn't have a chance to talk about the sum function, and this is the function that I've used here. That's why I've already prepared before this topic. So our exercise now is to add everything regarding the expenses of the ROM department and then divide it by the summary for the Q1 costs. So let's calculate it. I will start with a calculation for the ROM department. So I will add everything regarding the ROM. And now I will divide it by the summary of total cost. Of course, it is not correct due to the fact that the subtract operation will be performed as a first calculation. The order of calculation is very, very important here. The first calculation that should be performed is, of course, adding the cost together for the ROM department. And after that, we should divide it by the summary for Q1, which means that I should put this calculation in the brackets. And I will confirm it. And unfortunately, I will receive $0. Why we receive the $0 here? I just want to show you that not always the error that you will see and that will occur on your file is regarding the incorrect usage of the formula. In this case, the currency format was used, and unfortunately for us, the decimal places was defined as a 0. If you want to check what the currency format I've used here, we can open this number format. We have two methods here. We can use this icon on the bottom right side of the number section. This is the first method. The second method is we can use the Ctrl and 1 shortcut to open the format cells window. And as you can see, the currency format is used here and the decimal places are defined as 0 decimal places. To fix that problem, we should change this format from the currency to percentage. I can also adjust here that I want to see 2 decimal places. And I will confirm it using the OK button. And thanks to that, I will receive that the percentage of grand total of the Rome department is 10.43%. The last part of our exercise is to prepare the summary for the cost Q1 and Q2. So the 2 quarters added together. We already have the value regarding the summary of total cost for the first quarter, but regarding the second one, I have prepared the second file, which is basically the same file as we saw previously with different data, and the summary of total cost for Q1 is already prepared here. So what we will do is I will start with adding the value for the summary of total cost Q1. As you can see, the reference that is necessary to precisely define the cell to which I'm referring to is only the E2. So we don't need any information regarding the worksheet or workbook to precisely define the reference. To precisely define the reference to the other worksheet, as you can see, we need to refer to the other worksheet, and we will see the whole informations regarding the expenses, regarding the cell from the different file. So let's refer to this cell and let's confirm it using the Enter key. Once more, I shouldn't jump between the files right now because the reference might change. So I will confirm it, and as you can see, now our formula is E2 cell, which is the cell from the same worksheet, from the same workbook, plus, and now we have the name of the file in the square brackets, expenses for Q2, and the extension of the file XLSX. Then we have the name of the worksheet summary Q2, exclamation mark, and the E2 reference. Thanks to that, I performed the calculation for the both quarters at the same time.